Boy, oh boy. Alec Baldwin, isn't that a story? You probably already know about the story, right? You saw it from most likely Moist Critical's video, very popular video on YouTube. And from that, you see that the common opinion from people is that, you know, we can't blame Baldwin. He must be feeling like shit. It's a terrible situation. Don't get me wrong, it is a terrible situation. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna front. I felt the same way, you know, feeling bad for him on day one. But I usually have a really good ability to keep my mouth shut when I know that people hold a certain past. And Alec Baldwin could be described as a very hypocritical person, right? Very Hollywood typical. For those who don't know, Alec Baldwin was part of this Hollywood crowd that was all like, oh, if Trump wins, I'm going to go to Canada, I'm going to get the fuck out of here as soon as he steps into the Oval Office, some shit like that. And well, he did, and they didn't leave. Their pockets were a little bit too heavy, so you know, Canada is a little bit too far. We're gonna stay right here. Alright? Now obviously with Trump's tax plans and shit like that, they secretly love that shit. The pockets were even getting heavier, and it was the same hypocritical shit every fucking day, right? Even Alec Baldwin being the guy who impersonated Trump, and I don't have an issue with that. I love comedy, as you may know, and well, the Orange Man is in fact a Muppet. He's a very easy target, but pretty laughable as well. I don't have anything wrong about mocking the man, but Alec Baldwin, assuming his personality, what he did in the past, I would say that this situation is quite ironic. Okay? What the fuck am I talking about here? So back when Dick Cheney, you know, remember that guy? I'm mispronouncing the fuck out of that name. But he was a vice president. Some say one of the most important, or actually rather, powerful vice presidents in the United States in recent history. Well, Dick Cheney went on a hunting trip and shot someone in the face, somehow with a shotgun blast, and this motherfucker lived, right? Now, he was also an accidental shooting, but Alec Baldwin had a lot to say about it. 2015, you hook your friends with that line, shoot him in the face, Cheney style. So here he is, this motherfucker, maybe asking from people, or expect from people, I guess, some, I guess, understanding when this motherfucker didn't have any understanding at all, ever. Now, if you feel like, oh, this is a little bit different, it was a real gun, we'll get into that. But, you know, different circumstances. Well, there was more. And there was it was a video about a police officer who shot someone who he didn't want to shoot. And all he had to say, Baldwin had to say, is how it must feel to wrongfully kill someone. Yeah, Alec, how does it fucking feel? But I know you're wondering, what kind of arguments can you possibly have to blame this man for such an accidental and unfortunate situation? Well, let's start off by the fact that is a very sucky move. And when I say sucky, understand this is a YouTube friendly term. What I really mean is you're being a top tier asshole to push your assistant director under the bus like that. As soon as this man was saying like, oh, maybe I should have checked the gun, Alec was like, this bitch said it. You heard that? Yes, it is his bro, let's go to the second point. You're the executive producer. You're not necessarily just an actor who's just like, I'm doing my shit and going back to my house and get the residuals. No, you're the executive producer. You're way up there. So safety also falls onto you when it comes to the whole set. But most importantly, how the fuck are you gonna try to convince me that you didn't know that your crew was shooting live rounds doing breaks on stage? On set, I'm sorry. Well, like, I mean, you can't make this shit up. They were shooting live rounds. Those are loud. Were you just like not there? What the fuck were you doing? Zoom your performance or something like that? You had to be there, and you had to know. You had to know they were shooting shit. If you weren't shooting yourself, I would say. As an executive producer, and I understand people, let me create this middle point here and obviously highlight the, again, obvious. The Armourer is the one to blame when it comes to the biggest responsibility, when it comes to the safety and what the guns are going to fire, if they're going to fire actual rounds or not. Which shouldn't even be a question, honestly, but... And I mean, who thought of the idea of hiring a 24-year-old that already had... This bitch had a track record. She was already involved, like Nicolas Cage said, this bitch is a little bit too reckless for my liking, can you fire her? This was documented, and apparently... people missed the memo. Like, yeah, she's cheap, so fuck it, let's go with that. Now, I don't know if that was really Alec's responsibility when it comes to hiring people, but, you know, I'm just asking this question because I'm honestly intrigued. Like, from every single thing that you could cut corners on, you decide to do on the person who deals with guns.
What the fuck?
And then I think the third point would be the strongest, is the fact that it is a gun, people. A lot of people calling it a prop gun. It wasn't a prop gun. A prop gun would be something that is not chambered for an actual live round. That shit was, in fact, chambered for a live round. Because it was a real gun. It wasn't a prop gun. I don't know, it was a revolver, so I would say maybe a 44, something like that. And for those people going like, oh, but here we go again. Here I am saying to you that it's not a responsibility to know what's inside the gun. That would be sort of correct if it wasn't a real gun. If it was a prop gun and an airsoft shit, I don't care. Like, yeah, maybe, you know, I wouldn't be worried too much. Like, they're not actual guns if that was the case. But it was. This shit shot live rounds. It was an actual gun. If Alec Baldwin has been doing, I'm pretty sure he's been doing this shit for a long fucking time to recognize, like, most prop guns are real. So maybe I would need some gun training. Keanu Reeves got this gun training. It also focused on safety. Alec Baldwin, for all this time, didn't have it, which is pretty weird for someone who's anti-guns. I would assume that if you're gonna handle guns, you would be the most interested in gun safety. Meanwhile, you have these gun nuts on fucking YouTube that people love to mock, going like, okay guys, let's be responsible here, dump the mag, eject the bullet from the chamber, put it on safety, and even with all that, don't start swiping towards something that you don't want to destroy. A person, an object, doesn't matter. And you point it towards the fucking field, right? These people, they are the threat to America, right? Oh my god, so many guns, and these are the guys who are actually using them responsibly, but the guy who's all anti-guns and fuck Trump and all this conservative shit is the one who's doing the conservative shit in the first place. So, I'm sorry. If you're the gun handler and you're above age, you're responsible for what you do. This shit wouldn't fly with anyone else. Oh, Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't know the gun was loaded. Then you maybe should have fucking known that. It's an actual gun. Even those who just want control on the weapons, they say like, oh, you should have a license. Does Alec Baldwin have a license? Why is any exclusion to this rule? Because when I heard the news, I was like, was it like a fragment of a blank? Because that usually can happen. Was it like some shrapnel that the person and whatnot? Like, no, it was an actual gun. It was like a prop gun that people like to call a prop gun even though it isn't, because it is actually chambered for a real round. Bro, at that point, if you handle that shit, you have all the responsibility to never point at someone, even if you think it's, I mean, at least check its blanks, right? Maybe if it was a fragment of a blank round, I wouldn't be so hard on Alec Baldwin, because in fact the gun didn't have any lethal. Even that, I don't know why would you point at someone. It was supposedly it was a shot about pointing at the camera. If anything, it would be the cameraman, but no, it was the director. I don't know what happened. I don't think anyone that was outside of that set could possibly know, but it's just very confusing, right? And after all this thing that, you know, Alec Baldwin has always been saying on Twitter, man, it's really hard for me to feel sad about you. I feel sad about the person who lost, you know, her life, and the director that got injured, or the producer. I don't know who it was, but, you know. Like I said, I didn't touch this news because I felt like something was gonna pop that it wasn't gonna smell that good, and apparently Alec Baldwin might have some blame into this, and people might start making peace with that he might actually go to jail for this because he was a gun handler that didn't know how to handle a gun. I think at this point he just needs to accept that he was a gun handler. Even if you don't take any, let's say, blame when it comes to the court system, but I don't know how you're gonna live that one down, but you need to understand that you should have checked. And listen, I'm not the kind of person to put blame on people. I fucking hate doing that shit. But when he comes with this thing of like throwing people under the bus and doing all this crazy shit, bro, cut it out. Alright, stop it. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like this style of videos, and I'll see you next time.